Hi, I'm Bob Angst, Senior Editor with CE Pro Magazine, and today I am with Nick and Gary from SVS. Guys, how you doing today?
Great to be here, Bob. Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure. Big fan.
Awesome, thank you. I'm excited about our little conversation today. We're going to be talking about some integrated amplifiers and some powered speakers today. You have some new products that are set to launch, and they're an expansion of your product line. So getting right into it, let's start with the first question. What is the vision behind the Prime Wireless Pro products? Gary.
Maybe I'll kick it off. So Prime Wireless Pro is a smart wireless ecosystem. There's a pair of powered speakers and there's an integrated amplifier, or it could be a source component. And basically we tried to check every connectivity box that there is, meaning it's high resolution audio over Wi-Fi, it's AirPlay 2, it's Cast, the Android analog to iPhone or iOS, HDMI connectivity, direct connect via analog, so it could be the world's greatest computer speaker. The HDMI connectivity lets it be a soundbar killer. So basically, we check every box any way anyone would want to enjoy sound through either the integrated amplifier, source component, or powered speakers. But I think how I would want to characterize it to you and your audience, Bob, is we wanted to make a smart wireless speaker solution that's not measured against other all-in-one solutions, but instead measured against the best sounding speakers anywhere near their price range, regardless of whether or not they're powered.
Okay, Nick, could you provide your perspective on the vision behind the Prime Wireless Pro products?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Gary captured it well, but really, it's sort of trying to bring a true hi-fi, a true high-end audio experience, but to a more modern audiophile. I think there's this sort of expectation now with some audio systems where they're complicated to set up. I have too many choices between all the different components, and we really wanted to make it simple. It is an all-in-one solution. You don't need to buy additional components to go with the powered speaker pair, but it does allow you to set it up within minutes. You can control it via your smartphone. You can control it via a desktop app. You have all the different wireless streaming options that Gary had mentioned, but it also connects to all the hardware options. So it truly does provide sort of a jack of all trades audio solution, whether you wanted to use it as, again, a dedicated 2-channel listening system or a soundbar replacement. And so, with all of those things in mind, it's sort of bringing the idea of hi-fi and high fidelity sound to somebody who maybe doesn't want all of the decision making and all the complications of setting up a system with all the separate components. And I think the sound quality aspect of it was really what we put first and foremost, but we had to keep in mind all of those connectivity, versatility, and control aspects because of the fact that they appeal to a younger generation and they appeal to a more modern audiophile.
But I do think it's important to kind of capture both aspects of the vision, because a lot of times people think lifestyle products or application-driven products are just almost by definition not going to sound as great as products that don't think about lifestyle considerations, like a pair of passive full range speakers with an amplifier and a preamp presumably should sound better. But in fact, we want to get measured against that. We want, in terms of sound quality, we want to get measured against your favorite pair of speakers with an integrated amplifier or an amplifier and a preamplifier, and we want to blow away your expectations. And we do that with a very high performance 24192 DAC that allows us to decode digital files in their most pristine state. And then also, because it's a very highly sophisticated digital solution, we have a digital electronic crossover and 4 times 50 watts amplifier. So each driver is in both speakers is driven by its own amplifier, and we're able to, using the electronic crossover, basically create magic out of a package that is surprisingly small for the big sound that you get.
Okay, Gary, what did your team, the SVS engineering team, learn from developing the first SVS Prime Wireless products that helped guide the design process for the new Pro version products?
Yeah, every that's a great question. First of all, we wanted to really push the envelope in sound quality. So we did with Prime Wireless Pro powered speaker pair, we did make them a little bit larger. They have a larger 5.25-inch mid-bass driver, which means that they have a bigger sound. They also AirPlay 2 and Cast means that every way you could ever want to listen to the speakers is available to you. Also, AirPlay 2 and Cast mean that we don't need to use our own proprietary app to set the speakers up. In fact, they use the ecosystem provided by your phone. In other words, whether it's an Android or it's an iPhone, we use the ecosystem that your phone has. It recognizes, for example, an iPhone recognizes the speakers or the integrated amplifier as an AirPlay client, and so automatically signs it in and creates an identity, allows you to name it. If you could have 16 sets of these things all over your house and have 16 different zones with different names. So that was something that we didn't have before. Also, it kept getting we kept realizing that pretty much in this day and age, everybody has TVs in almost every room. So someone who has these speakers, the temptation to use them to drive the TV sound is very high. And in the previous generation, we didn't have HDMI connectivity. So we think this is a massive step forward. Also, the previous generation has 6 presets, which is really cool because you can put your favorite Spotify playlist in there, or your favorite Sirius XM channel, your favorite internet radio channel, and have it accessible via preset. But we realized for the really ultimate inconvenience, each preset needs its own discrete button. So all you do is hit one button and boom, you're listening to your favorite playlist, Sirius XM, Pandora, or internet radio station. Also a remote control so that the device can be controlled from across the room and you don't need your phone to enjoy it. Basically, we checked every connectivity box that we neglected to check with the first generation. The first generation was really successful for us, but we just wanted to push the envelope of what's possible and really elevate the user experience. By the way, we never mentioned Bluetooth, but they are Bluetooth, of course.
You only missed one thing, Gary, that I caught. We redesigned, he mentioned the cabinets a little bit larger. We actually added a front panel interface to add to the sort of user experience that allows you to see album and track information and a little bit more rich data than you would typically get from the old version. And again, that gives it a sort of a high-tech look to it, which I think is important for some people, but it also provides a better user experience just because you have that metadata available to you. And it, and again, shows you which input is being used as well. So just a kind of cool visual feature that we added onto the products as well.
Well, I think it's useful. It's cool and it's useful. You're totally right. I should have remembered it. It's basically tells you the artist and the track information or whichever station you're listening to. If it's Sirius XM, it tells you you're listening to, Howard Stern or whatever you. I like Howard Stern. Maybe not everyone does, apparently.
Both of you have already alluded to some things that I think make the product stand out. What are some of the other key points that help differentiate these products from some of the other products that are similar on the market?
So very important point is that it is a powered speaker pair. And so it's not an all-in-one. I think an all-in-one meaning a device that sort of sits in front of you and it's one single thing, and then the right speaker is shooting sound off to the right and the left speaker is shooting sound off to the left. And if you're any further away than like 4 feet away, you don't really hear stereo. We wanted to create a true stereo experience, high performance audiophile stereo experience. So you can put these speakers on stands. They can be 8 feet apart, and they will create a rock solid stereo image. They will create a true audiophile experience. To me, that is a massive differentiating factor relative to most wireless speakers. They are not created for background music. They're not created for talk radio, although of course they'll do those things. They are created to create a convincing, immersive experience and do it, as Nick said, for the modern audiophile, any way the person wants to connect to them.
And I would add
and any service the person wants to use in order to provide the content. Sorry, Nick.
No, that's okay. And I would add on to that too. I mean, I think when you look at the breadth of connectivity and control options, there's very few, if any, products out there that offer the versatility that it does. And then on top of that, any products that sound even close to as good, if there are any, are astronomically more expensive. So when you combine the fact that you get, a better user experience and more versatility from all the connectivity and control options, but then also they just sound so good. Those two things together, I think, really set them apart from some of the others that may have to had compromise on one or the other, either the sound quality aspect or the number of connections. So we truly feel like it's a game changer in that regard as well.
I mean, the beauty of a digital electronic crossover as opposed to the classic passive speaker crossover is, when you're voicing passive full range speakers, you're literally attaching crossover components and listening to what you did and measuring what you did. It's a very iterative, painstaking process. When you have a digital electronic crossover, which we have because these speakers have 4 separate amplifiers driving the 4 separate drivers, you can on the fly with your computer make very almost molecular changes to the crossover and really create magic out of the two drivers in the cabinet configuration that you have.
One more thing I would add too is, in addition to the Chromecast and the Spotify Connect and having AirPlay, because it's part of the DTS Play-Fi platform as well, it's agnostic in the sense that it can work with other brands as part of a multi-room home audio system. So you also have the ability to pair it up with some of the other products in the DTS Play-Fi family if you choose to, or you can connect directly from those other wireless protocols that I mentioned. But it does just add another level of versatility beyond what I think a lot of other products are offering.
And I think, just to riff off that, and then we ought to probably let Bob get a word in edgewise here. We're one of the few products. There's a couple others out there, but they're fewer than you think that do full high resolution audio over Wi-Fi, which I think it's amazing. I've been living with these for almost a year as we've tried to refine them and get them to exactly where the user experience is everything we want it to be. It's so joyful to sit and listen to high resolution. We use Qobuz a lot, but there's also obviously Tidal, Amazon Music. It looks like Spotify's moving into it. Apple Music has announced it. Listening to high resolution audio over Wi-Fi, it's absolutely joyful. It's wonderful to listen to.
I have, before we talk about how the products help dealers, I have one more consumer related question. You recently demonstrated the products at Expona, that consumer audio event. How did the crowds at that Expona show react to the new products? Gary.
Well, we were both there, and I'll let Nick talk too, but I think people were kind of shocked. I mean, people come to SVS to hear a killer, blow your socks off home theater demo. And we were alternating between, exactly that, we don't disappoint. But then going to just our prime wireless powered speaker pair, no subwoofer, and playing music. And I really think people were kind of shocked, but also delighted and taking notes like, oh, can get we soft announced it and people were disappointed we didn't have a full-on brochure to give them. So I think the feedback was totally amazing and very gratifying. And I feel like we're on the right track. Nick?
Yeah, the moment of levity for me was we had an older couple come in and they had just gotten done listening to an $85,000 pair of speakers. And they came into our room and they sat down and they were very sort of straight-faced and we played the demo and, their jaws dropped a little bit and they're like, I just got done listening to close to $100,000 worth of speakers and they didn't have nearly as much bass and the female vocalist didn't sound nearly as realistic as what I just heard from these. And tell me these aren't $80,000. And I was like, no, we're not gonna go quite there with the price. But it was just really gratifying to hear something like that because you're at a primarily 2-channel show. We're sort of the guilty pleasure, as Gary said, doing the home theater demos, but to be able to wow somebody with a pair of bookshelf speakers that are under $1,000 and then have them compare them to the system they just heard was really gratifying. And I took a lot of happiness out of that conversation.
And when somebody says that, I'm like, okay, and raise your hand if you're in the market for a pair of $85,000 speakers, because I guess it's fun to hear that. Although sometimes they really do deliver. They're like really sound amazing. Sometimes they don't. And these are under $1,000. We're targeting $799. for the pair, active and passive speaker pair. And I think they create magic. And obviously there are children. Nick and I are the proud parents, along with the rest of the SVS team. But based on the feedback we've gotten from the industry, because we did show these at several industry events as well, including CES and ProSource Buying Group, Power CI, and their power retailers. We've gotten nothing from these grizzled industry veterans. We've gotten nothing but positive feedback and excitement for us to bring them to the market.
Thank you, Gary. You've provided me the perfect segue into my next question. You had mentioned ProSource and CES. What are some of the key selling points for these new products from the dealer perspective? And Gary, if you could start.
Well, for one thing, this is a tool in their arsenal that they don't currently have. I mean, it's relatively affordable. They sound amazing. There may be other, we never talk in any way negatively about other players in our space, but there are brands that maybe don't view the dealer in the same spirit of partnership as SVS does. We have such wonderful, strong partnerships. Now they're going to be able to have from their go-to partner in subwoofers and speakers, a full-on home ecosystem with multi-zone, multi-source capability, relatively affordable. They're able to bring completely uncompromised multi-zone, multi-source sound experiences to their clients, their customers, in ways they've never been able to before. That's a problem. Go ahead, Nick. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I think they also check the box for a lot of maybe audiences they haven't tried to engage with before. I mean, certainly soundbars are super popular and they're not going to go away. But, somebody who bought a soundbar because they wanted to hear the dialogue better and is now realizing that they get no sort of imaging or no ambient sound or none of the benefits of a true stereo system will see the benefit of this kind of product in a demo. But then also a gamer, somebody who's got a really high performance, computer gaming rig or console based rig, wanting to do something better than a soundbar, that's a new audience that you can go after. And then I also think, younger people will like the fact that, again, it's an all-in-one system, but it truly gets the most out of their content. And whether that's somebody who's into movies or, more modern types of music, it's a product that really allows them to branch out and reach maybe some new audiences they weren't talking to before.
And Bob, I was an integrator once upon a time. And one of the things I learned in that space, the integrator earns the confidence and trust of the client because they know their stuff and because they're customer facing for sure. But the client, after you have presented options to them, they're typically going to go out and try to do some form of research to validate your recommendations. And one of the things that will be very positive for the integrator space is if they make a recommendation of SVS products, whether it's Prime Wireless Pro, which we're super excited about, our 3000 in-wall subwoofer, or our subwoofers and full range speakers, if the client chooses to do research, they're going to see nothing but positive energy, even a passionate following, multitude of 5-star user reviews. And it makes the integrator a hero for bringing this brand to the client's attention. I get that the client doesn't go to the integrator and say, specify, hey, I want SVS. But on the other hand, if the client didn't know who SVS was and they go online to validate the integrator's recommendation, they're going to see this massive amount of positive energy around our brand, both in terms of press reviews and user reviews, and forums and all the other ways that you can research.
If I could throw my 2 cents in, I'll say too that from the dealer perspective, I also think the value proposition that SVS provides in 2022, especially, homeowners are getting squeezed at the gas pump, they're getting squeezed at the supermarket. Any homeowner that does their research will find the SVS product line is some of the most valued products in the entire world of consumer audio. There's a high level of value in the purchase of the products.
Yeah, and we're really proud of that. And we never want to take away from the aspirational quality of our brand, meaning we don't want to be like, quote unquote, the bargain brand or anything like that. So what we try to do is bring reference experiences to more people by working really, really hard to price them in an inclusive way. That's my euphemism for saying it's a really good deal, but they are.
Okay. Now I'm going to ask you guys your opinion on this particular question. And Gary, we'll start with you. How do you view the high performance audio industry evolving over the next 5 or 10 years?
What a great question. And Nick is really better on this, but I'll just say this. I think so much of the high performance audio industry, the premise of a lot of the brands is that nobody cares about great sound anymore. And there's just this very narrow band of humanity, male, affluent, older, that appreciates great sound, and the rest of the world doesn't. And we have just not seen that to be the case. So what we do at SVS is we talk to more youthful demographics, we talk to more diverse people, we talk to varying economic situations in terms of the people that we talk to. And because of that, we have brought all kinds of new people to the joy of great sound. So as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't be more optimistic about the high performance audio world, as long as we all embrace the idea that everyone, maybe not everyone, I would say 3/4 of humanity really does appreciate the joys of great sound. We just need to help them do the math that they can have great sound in their living space.
Yeah, and I would take it from a slightly different angle, in the sense that, we've seen, the Amazon Music HD, the Qobuzzes, a lot of these services are doing really well with their high res streaming. And so there's going to be a desire for more wireless technology. And I think nobody's cracked the nut in terms of wireless home theater yet, but 10 years from now, who knows where we'll be at that point when, as far as that goes. But, I think there's going to be this just desire for simpler, more user-friendly type systems that don't compromise on fidelity. And that's really where, we're looking to, develop products that allow people to enjoy music at its absolute best, as the artist intended, but in a way that's not complicated to set up, and it's not going to, bankrupt them. And so I feel like, as we look to branch out and reach new people who are into different kinds of content, not just music, but I mentioned video games and movies and all these types of things, these will be the next generation of folks who are investing in great audio products. And for some of them, Prime Wireless Pro will be the end game. That is the greatest system they will ever own. They won't need anything else. For others, it's a gateway. They may go from that to a multi-channel 7.2.4 Dolby Atmos system because they got a taste of it. So I view, this type of product as sort of a great catch-all, whether you're, again, looking for the greatest system you've ever owned, or something that really starts you on your path towards enjoying great sound. And, I think the evolution in terms of technology still has to be written, but, the word wireless is going to be all over it as we move forward.
I think that's really exciting to hear what you guys are saying about the evolution of the music industry. And I haven't written anything in a while about this, but I think for years, the consumer audio industry has kind of not been forward thinking enough to embrace younger consumers. And I think now, as baby boomers continue to age, we as an industry have to seek out younger consumers to start buying our products, or the whole marketplace is going to disappear. You need those consumers, and you need to develop them while they're young. And it sounds like with what SVS is doing, you're exactly on that path.
I was at I'm not going to name it because it'll out this person, but I was at an event, an SVS event at a major metropolitan area, and the leader of the quote unquote audiophile society of that major metropolitan area came up to me and introduced himself to me, was very complimentary of the demo and the products. And he said to me, our industry is really in trouble because there's all these, we're really only selling audio systems to older people. And I said, oh, I totally agree. We need to, address that. He said, yes, the audio brands need to learn how to make products that are focused on assisted living centers And I'm like, no, that wasn't what I was thinking. Actually, I was actually going in the other direction. But I think you're totally right. I mean, I don't want to chase people until they end up in the boneyard, with all respect. And I'm a kind of an older guy. I mean, I like to think I got a long runway before before the final days. But what's more interesting to me is talking to people, that are young and have more of their life ahead of them. And in fact, we don't make a mystery of this. The SVS's best demographics are a tie between 25 to 34 and 35 to 44. And 18 to 24 and 55 plus are approximately tied. So we're really trying to do a good job talking about great sound with everyone. And I think that's good for the audio industry.
I agree. And it sounds like that's based on those demographics. I would say that's a fairly rare occurrence. I would say a lot of audio brands can't claim that their consumers are in the millennial or NY demographic. Yeah, they can claim, Gen X and boomers, but the fact that you're getting younger people to buy your products, I think speaks to what you're doing in terms of, as we talked about earlier, the value of the products, the performance of the products, the product line diversity. You're hitting all these points that people want with their home electronics in 2022.
Totally agree. Oh, and the other thing, without I don't mean to toot our horn too much, but when we started out at SVS, we were approximately, I think, 7% female purchasers. 7. That's pretty sad, I think. And now we're not all the way there, but I think we've gotten above 20%, and we're still charging forward with female purchasers. And in the end of the day, this whole kind of what I would call foolish misogyny, wife acceptance factor, this kind of thing, it's wrong, because I think women, as long as we speak to women on their level in a way they want to be spoken to and engaged, they're just as excited about music or movies or great sound as males. So that's another area of I think potential growth for the audio industry.
I absolutely agree. And all of this makes me think of, and I hold Fender as a musical instrument company in pretty high regards, because I think Fender has done really well developing consumers, guitar players from the very entry level all the way up to the very high end. You can get a Squire guitar for a few $100. You can drop $7,000-8,000 for a custom shop Strat, and they get males, they get females, they get a wide variety in terms of age of players using their products. And it sounds like you're very much in line with Fender, and that's unique in consumer audio.
I am very complimented by that analogy. I think that's a great. I love it. And I'd love to. I'm gonna say you're right, just because it makes me happy to hear that.
Well, before I let you guys go, I have one more question. Looking ahead, is there anything else new and exciting that you can share with us?
I can tell you that there's no product category or space in the world of great sound that we're not looking at to grow into and create some magic around. Our aspiration, we started as a subwoofer company. I'm going to say we're a successful speaker company, though our journey there is by no means over, and we have a lot of work to do, but we've made a lot of progress. In the end of the day, we want to be a full-on audiophile and home entertainment company in every dimension of the meaning of that word. So watch out. We're going to be bringing interesting stuff, and hopefully we'll be able to visit with you again, Bob, in the near future.
I'll put a little specifics on that too. We actually just launched a couple of cables that from our SoundPath accessories line, which has been one of the fastest growing segments of our business. An XLR cable, an optical cable. We have HDMI coming up here in a little bit. And again, I think we're just trying to disrupt a category where there's sort of these two camps. That's the point A to point B, sort of basic, compromise solution. And then there's these astronomically expensive, really sort of not for the rest of humanity type products. So we try to bring 99 to 100% of that high-end performance, but at a much more, I'll use your word, Gary, inclusive price. And I think that's why so many dealers are now adding our SoundPath accessories to their lines, and why they've been such a big hit for consumer audio.
I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day to speak with me. I had a lot of fun talking about the SVS product line with you. Nick, I am going to put you on the spot and ask you, where can dealers go to learn more about the SVS product line?
Well, our website's svsound.com. So I would start there. They can reach out to Ken Cadis, who's our U.S. National Sales Director. He can help connect them. Or Monique. Yep. Monique.
I was going to say, or me.
Oh, or Gary directly. Actually,
no
Gary's
problem with
email
that.
Is right on our About Us page. So you want to reach out to Gary, he puts his information right out there, and he will write you back. So just start with a conversation, an email, a phone call, and we'll get you into the right direction to figure out how to add SVS to your family of products.
I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your day. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Bob, thank
Bob.
you. It's been a real pleasure.
Always fun.
Thank you.